Now we see in verse 26 of Jeremiah 50, it says, "Come against her from the farthest border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps of ruins, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing of her be left." So it's complete destruction for Babylon. In verse 27, "Slay all her bulls, let them go down to the slaughter. Woe to them, for their day has come, the time of their punishment." It could be said that the United States does have a very big cattle and beef industry, and it says slay all her bulls. It is a country. There are other countries that also have a lot of beef, like Argentina, but this is one more part of the description. In verse 41 it says, "Behold, a people shall come from the north, and a great nation and many kings shall be raised up from the ends of the earth. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel and shall not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea. They shall ride on horses, set in array like a man for battle against you, O daughter of Babylon." In verse 43 it says, "The king of Babylon." Okay, so does the United States have a king? The leader is a president. So it's talking about the president. It says, "The king of Babylon has heard the report about them." So he's heard that this attack is happening and coming. "And his hands grow feeble. Anguish has taken hold of him, pangs as of a woman in childbirth." So he's not going to be able to believe that such a huge attack of a whole group, a whole body of nations would join their forces to come against this nation. Because if you think about it, who could destroy the United States of America? One country couldn't do it. It will take a group of nations. Okay, let's get a little more detail of who is going to be used. So now we're in Jeremiah chapter 51. We were just in Jeremiah chapter 50. Now we're going to move on to Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 1. Here's an interesting verse 1. It sounds like it could be talking about like a precursor to the attack and some of the plagues that will be happening to Babylon, to the United States. Now think of some of the things that have happened in the last few years, the last 3 or 4 years. And this sounds an awful lot like some natural disasters that have happened in the United States. It says, "Thus says Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon, against those who dwell in Leb-Kamai." Leb-Kamai is just another code word for Babylon. "I will raise up a destroying wind." I mean, what else could a destroying wind be? That's the perfect biblical description of a hurricane or a tornado. "Make the arrows," all right, so now we're going to drop down to verse 11. "Make the arrows bright, gather the shields. Yahweh has raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. For his plan is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh, the vengeance of his temple." So here we have the first time that it actually mentions a specific people, the Medes. You can look right in your dictionary online, look for biblical maps, and you'll find that the name of the country that the Medes were from is Media, M-E-D-I-A. It has a few other variations on the name too, but that's one of the main ways, Media or Media. And the people from that country were the Medes. It was an ancient people. They don't exist anymore as a country. I mean, but the descendants of those people still do exist. And it just so happens that Media, when you look for it, you're going to see it's right in the current area where the northern part of Iraq is, and much of the northwestern part of Iran, and also parts of southern Russia. So it can be contended that it could be any one of them, the north, which it makes more sense that it would be the Iranians, with all of the conflict that has been building up between the Iranians, and the Iranians are in league with the Russians. We know that the Russians support the Iranians. They've been there for over 10 years helping them with their nuclear program. You can look up articles on that online. And so this is one of the first clues. The Russians and the Iranians and the northern part of Iraq too. And then it says in verse 27, "Set up a banner in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, Prepare the nations against her. Call the kingdoms together against her. And now it mentions 3 places: Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. You can do a search yourself to find out where they are. A lot of people know that Ararat is where Noah's Ark settled, and that was on one of the mountains in the eastern part of Turkey. So we have the northeastern part of Turkey, and Ashkenaz is also in the southern part of Russia, or roughly where Armenia is, in that area. And it just so happens that there's a conflict going on in that section of the world in Georgia. Very close by is Georgia, where the United States has been building up the Georgians, and Russia is supporting the people who want to separate from there. So this is where the conflict is building up. I mean, you can see it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out. The United States is placing all of its naval and air force and putting bases strategically in Georgia, right around Iran, on all sides of Iran, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in Iraq, in Kuwait, and in the whole Middle Eastern area, and in Turkey. We have bases in Turkey too, and in the Black Sea, all around Georgia, just in case. And so what is Russia doing? Russia doesn't want to take this anymore, and Russia is trying to flex its muscles and showing that it has power. And so Russia is sending its ships to the coast of Syria. We know that Syria and Iran have been talking a lot. So Russia goes to the coast of Syria, which is an enemy of Israel, who's an ally of the United States. I mean, these are obvious things that we know if we read the newspaper or see the news. Also, Russia has been sending its ships to Venezuela. And we know that the Venezuelan president, Hugo Chavez, has been talking very negatively toward the United States government. And so now Russia goes over to Venezuela. I mean, this is really close to our shores, close to the United States. From Venezuela, from Caracas to Florida is like, I think, 2 hours, 2.5 hours in a slow, normal airplane that one of us could take. Imagine if it were a jet. It's probably minutes away, like half an hour, 20 minutes away. So, you know, you see all of this is starting to build up. I mean, and Russia is right next to Alaska. So Russia's all around the U.S., and Russia is a nation that is in the north. It's a northern nation. And if you do a search on some pacts or agreements that the Russians have signed with the Chinese, they're historic because the Russians and the Chinese have been enemies. They haven't been friends for all these years, even though they were both communist. See, you check it out. You'll see that they've signed papers and aligning themselves as types of allies to protect each other from the United States. Go check it out and you'll see. So here you have these great nations from the north. China's in the north and in the east. Russia's in the north, definitely. And then you have Iran is northeast from where Israel is. So let's continue reading here. It says that he called the kingdoms together against her, Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a general against her. The her there is Babylon. Cause the horses to come up like the bristling locusts. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. Again, it mentions the Medes from Media. Verse 42, the sea has come up over Babylon. Okay, again, this sounds more like the natural disasters, like the hurricanes. The sea has come up over her, Babylon. She is covered with the multitude of its waves. Verse 48, then the heavens and the earth and all that is in them shall sing joyously over Babylon, for the plunderers shall come to her from the north, says Yahweh. So you see that Yahweh is not sad that Babylon is going to be attacked and destroyed, because it's the most sinful nation. All right, we're going to continue in the next message.